Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and I'm officially back from my trip to China, so I will be back to my regular schedule and delivering game news once again. There was a lot of things that happened in the last few weeks, but one thing that really caught my attention, and I haven't seen many people actually talk about it, but there will be more PlayStation games coming to the PC. And no, this isn't just some wild speculation, a rumor, or me trying to be clickbaity with my videos. This is coming straight from the chairman of Sony Studios, Shawn Layden. Of course, we have seen some PlayStation intellectual properties come to PC in the last few years, such as Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls, Journey, and even Helldivers, which were all published by Sony on PC. But these, of course, rarely ever happen. This, though, is entirely different because Shawn Layden was talking about expanding beyond just PlayStation. The exact quote is, "We must support the PlayStation platform. That is non-negotiable. That said, you will see in the future some titles coming out of my collection of studios which may need to lean into a wider installed base." This, of course, is referring to PC, and in fact, only a day or two after Shawn Layden spoke about expanding to a wider install base, they announced yet another game for PC, which is Ready Set Heroes, which will be published by Sony on the PC platform. This, of course, goes in line with their previous releases this year, such as Detroit Become Human and Beyond Two Souls, which was released on the Epic Game Store, which I do find to be very interesting. While yes, the Epic Game Store is not exactly my favorite launcher on PC, and fans haven't exactly fell in love with it because Steam is the better product right now, Sony seems to have chosen the Epic Game Store for their games on PC, and I think that's pretty obvious as to why. Unlike Steam, which takes 30% of every game sold, Epic only takes 12%, which could be very enticing for Sony, who doesn't usually release their games on PC. Now, maybe in the future, Sony may make their own store for PC, but we may first need to see how devoted they are to releasing games on the PC. Sure, we are seeing more games from Sony come to the PC platform, but as of right now, the biggest release they have on there is a second-party title, which is Detroit Become Human. This means Sony does own the intellectual property of Detroit, but it is being developed by a third-party developer, and so far we have yet to see them release a big AAA title from one of their first-party developers such as Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, or Media Molecule. In other words, we have yet to see a God of War, Last of Us, or the latest Spider-Man, which was developed by the now first-party studio Insomniac Games. Now, there is a rumor going on that Death Stranding will be coming to PC after the release on PlayStation 4, and I am inclined to believe it will based off all the evidence, but this once again will be a second-party game, as Sony doesn't own Kojima Studios. I, however, do think it makes sense for Sony to release some of their big AAA games on PC, similar to what Microsoft is already doing, and I'll explain why. Now, we have been seeing Microsoft release their games on PC for the last few years, and they have really turned around their strategy rather than just focus on an all-inclusive console, which can be both beneficial to gamers and the publisher. Of course, console warriors may not be the happiest ever, but keep in mind that it is becoming more and more expensive to develop big AAA games, which is PlayStation's bread and butter. They have some of the highest production values in the game industry, and they seem to be doubling down on this strategy of big AAA games going into the next generation with PlayStation 5. They've already publicly said this, and they just invested in another big AAA studio, Insomniac Games, and I do believe that they will be acquiring a few more studios later this year or going into the next generation of PlayStation 5. And to this, there is some people in the game industry, such as Amy Hennig, who believes the AAA strategy is unsustainable because they have to sell a ton of copies to turn a profit. So with any amount of failure, there is a threat of shutting down an entire studio. I don't entirely agree with this strategy being unsustainable per se, but it is without a doubt very expensive, and one way of minimizing the risk is by expanding to more platforms, which is something we have already seen Xbox doing this generation. Not only have they expanded to PC, but they have been investing in the cloud so they can give people more options and ultimately appeal to more consumers. This is also something PlayStation seems set on doing in the near future as well, and in fact they have had PlayStation Now, which is a cloud-based service, for 5 years. It hasn't exactly been a huge success for them, but Sony did just invest in Microsoft Azure, which could help improve PlayStation Now even further. I've said this in the past, but PlayStation Now's biggest obstacle is their policies, and I think they need to take notes from Xbox Game Pass here and offer their first-party library day one, or at least offer them shortly after release. As it stands, I don't think the service is that appealing, and the low number of subscribers is pretty revealing on what the general public feels about it. Nonetheless, PlayStation Now is on PC already, so in a way some of PlayStation's first party is already available on PC. But to Shawn Layden's quote, this seems to be more of a local thing. While I don't think we should expect the next God of War or Last of Us 2 on PC anytime soon, I think we are seeing a shift in industry and how console makers are approaching their first-party games. And a part of that is expanding to other platforms such as the PC, and through the cloud of course. I think next generation we will see Sony dabble more and more in the PC hemisphere, and possibly get a few relatively big releases on the PC. Of course, only time will tell what will happen, but interesting times are certainly ahead of us. What do you all think though? Do you think we'll see PlayStation games on a regular basis come to the PC platform, or do you think it will be just rare occurrences like it has been within the last year? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.